Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm going to be creating another DIY minimal supplies card. And this is actually going to be a birthday card. I'm using some very inexpensive watercolor paints from Crayola. They're usually about $2 or under. I'm going to use a pencil and also a pen. And I've got some watercolor paper here. This watercolor paper is actually Canson XL watercolor paper. It's a fairly inexpensive watercolor paper that you can find at art supply stores or craft stores or sometimes even in supermarkets. So this card can be done on cardstock or paper something other than watercolor paper, but I really would recommend using watercolor paper for the best results. It's worth the money and you can use that padded watercolor paper for lots and lots of projects. So I've cut my two card bases down to 3 inches wide by 8 inches tall, and then I folded them in half. And now I'm taking some blue painter's tape. I'm going to use some masking tape to mask off some areas on these cards. You can definitely skip this step if you don't have any tape on hand, but it just makes it a little bit easier to get the images on the front of the cards just right. Using a ruler and also an X-Acto knife to cut the tape in half. This is economical because I'm only going to be using this one strip of tape for both cards, but also it makes the tape a little bit more narrow and easier to visualize exactly the area where I will be painting. So I'm going to peel this up off my craft mat, and then I'm going to tear the pieces in half and put them down onto the front of the card. Basically what I'm doing is I want to mask off a center area on the front of each card. On one card I'm going to be creating a gift box or a present, and on the other I'm going to be creating a birthday cake. The birthday cake is going to be more wide, so on this second one you'll notice that the tape is spread out a little bit farther apart, but on that first one it was more narrow. Now I'm going to take out my watercolor paints. I've previously wet these, so the water's been able to soak in a little bit. So as I pick up the color from the watercolor palette, it's going to be very concentrated. If you have not used your watercolor palette when you start up this project, you're going to have to add a little bit of water and let it soak in. And then when you go to pick up the color, make sure you really swirl around that brush and make sure that it gets really thick and pigmented before you go to paint. That's going to help you get colors that aren't as washed out. So I started out by mixing the purple and blue to make a little bit more of a blue-purple color, and then I painted a stripe right across the top. And then I'm just gradually changing the colors and painting on stripes. You'll notice that on the more narrow area on the card on the left that I started higher up on the card. That's because that is the present, the gift box. I don't need as much room at the top, so I'm just going to be adding a bow. But on the other one, it's going to be a cake, and I need to be able to have room to draw the candles on top of the cake. So that's why I started that one a little bit farther down. So I peeled up the tape. You can see those nice clean edges. If you don't have any tape on hand, you could still paint the stripes, but just be very careful to start the stripes at the same point and also end the stripes at the same point. I'm just putting a piece of tape up there so you can see where the fold of the card is. I was able to see it while I was filming, but I realized on camera you probably wouldn't be able to see where that is. And I wanted you to be able to see the size relation and how I'm drawing on these stripes with my black pen or black marker. So I'm just drawing on a little crisscross and then the very whimsical string ends on that bow. And now I'm drawing on 3 candles. Now, when I drew on these candles, this marker that I was using, it wasn't very dark. So you will see that at one point I will go back over it with another pen that's a little bit darker, but you get the idea. So I added some candles and then made some diagonal stripes on them to add a little bit of more graphic interest. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw like a little scallop sort of swag going across that cake. This is going to give it a little bit more decoration. I thought it looked a little bit too plain without this on there, so this is going to add a little bit more of an organic shape to it. And then I'll bring in that yellow watercolor paint, and I'm going to use that for the flames on the candles. I thought that was a nice way to bring in a pop of color near the top of this small card. Like I mentioned before, I did come back in with a black pen to darken up the lines a little bit. And I also added some diagonal lines onto the scalloped area as well. That pretty much finishes up these cards. The finished card size on these is 3 by 4. It's a great small size to put on top of any gifts or presents that you might be giving to someone for their birthday. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will catch you guys next time.